So Baldur's Gate 3 is breaking records left and right, and there seems to be no stop to it. Just like how there's no stop to the fact that Larian is working on a lot of amazing features in a massive upcoming update, including a way to further customize our character looks that's just been confirmed. So lots of things currently in development to talk about, also about the game's future and possible DLCs that don't seem to be completely off the table just yet. But to jump into epic action and get a ton of awesome rewards with World of Tanks. Also big shout out to the team for sponsoring today's video. World of Tanks is a free-to-play MMO available right now on the PC where you can engage in massive battles against other players. There's an extensive selection of over 800 historically inspired tanks to choose from and upgrade, so there's a playstyle for every need. With over 40 battle arenas to choose from, epic landscapes, open fields, all the way to urban war zones, you can really test your commander skills out and gain tons of XP, as well as rewards to further upgrade and customize your favorite tanks. So definitely join the World of Tanks community today by clicking the links in the description, and also make sure to use the code COMBAT during registration. This will unlock these sweet rewards right here, including 7 days of premium access, 250,000 credits, and some really powerful premium tanks to choose from. Huge thanks again to the World of Tanks team for the sponsorship, and now back to the video. Now, the game already got 3 large hotfixes since launch, and all of these, as well as future patches, will be included in the PlayStation 5 version once it launches on September 6. However, there's also a gigantic patch 1 with many tweaks and changes that Larian is currently working on, and there seems to be an internal roadmap of all the future content that we're gonna see in the Baldur's Gate 3 timeline. However, these are not yet public. We do have some tidbits about it, but not completely public just yet. According to Larian's recent blog post, we have a roadmap for hotfixes and patches thanks to your thorough reporting and the stellar work of the support and development teams behind the scenes. We don't publish our roadmaps because we need the freedom to push and pull things around when the unforeseen happens without locking ourselves in, but we want to let you know that it's there, and we're currently working towards patch 1, which will feature a gigantic list of tweaks and changes. We'll publish these once it's finalized. And yeah, I can totally get behind this decision. I mean, even their hotfixes were large in size given the circumstance, so I can only imagine how big patch number 1 will be once it launches, be it days or maybe weeks. I think it's going to be a couple of weeks at least until we're gonna see some more news about it. But there's also one confirmed feature that has been at least talked about until now, which is a supposed character change mechanic that should let us further customize our appearance past the character creation screen if you want to change your hairstyle or maybe how your character looks. But like, you can't do that now because you can only do it in the character selection screen. Well, things are being cooked, according to the game's director of publishing, who posted this on Twitter yesterday. So I imagine this will be added to our camp at some point, or at most in one of the places we visit in Baldur's Gate. I think it should make sense if they also add it to the camp, since most, or well, some of the biggest services are already there to begin with. But it seems that the studio already factors a ton of community feedback in, so we should see a lot of highly sought after features with patch 1 as well. Possibly quality of life stuff that I would love to see is a way to lock on items or set items as favorites, especially if you don't want to accidentally move or sell them around. This happened to me on a number of occasions, especially since things can get quite a bit messy in your inventory as you progress and acquire a lot more items. But I've seen quite a number of other quality of life changes getting quite a bit of support behind them, like making it a bit less tedious to swap out party mates instead of having to manually talk to each one of them to get them out and get them in your party. Also, I see a lot of requests for the knockout feature to also work on quest NPCs, which for now only works mostly on vendors. Otherwise, quest NPCs are still considered dead by the game even though you do knock them out. So this could have a potential really great RP role so that we can save certain characters from certain outcomes. So far, the previous hotfixes also focused on improving the game's stability and solving many of the crash issues, progression blocking bugs, and even the save file size. But I am expecting a lot of gameplay changes too with patch 1, possibly even tweaks to certain spells or classes that could result in certain builds becoming even stronger. For For example, Spell Sniper, otherwise a great feat, currently doesn't give you the benefit from the reduction in the roll needed to critical hit with attacks, but once fixed, I imagine spellcasters will benefit a lot from this and get more consistent critical hits with their spell casting. Also, spell targeting has a ton of issues from what I noticed, so having some fixes here would definitely be lovely. I also noticed that the bonus action from the Weapon Master feat doesn't let you target a different enemy when it's procs and your primary target already dies, which means you just waste it because you can't switch it to a different enemy that might be close by. So yeah, you could save it in theory for the next turn, but you're kinda losing a bonus action in this turn, which would mean losing a major advantage. Also, various druid spells like Entangle randomly failing when they shouldn't, and probably many more that I'm missing, but yeah, certainly a ton of things currently do not work, which otherwise would make a lot of the classes and builds much stronger. It's also still possible, though I kinda doubt it, that bonus actions like shove or weapon dip or even jump can be turned into normal actions instead and maybe even get fixed to more closely follow the D&D rules. For example, right now jump can let you sometimes exceed your available movement per turn and basically reach targets when otherwise you should not be able to. Also, providing the ability to shove someone off a cliff or into an AoE hazard right after already consuming all of your other abilities is a really good advantage, so this could actually be changed at some point. However, enemies can also do that, so I don't really see a reason for it. Anyway, moving on to different topics, Baldur's Gate 3 just set another record and it is now the highest rated PC game of all time on Metacritic with a score of 97 out of 100. So this places it over games like Disco Elysium, Half-Life 2 and even GTA 5, which, I mean, props to the team. They really did an excellent job at delivering one of the best RPG experiences I had in a very long while. It's also currently on number 8 when factoring in all the platforms. However, this is likely going to change once the PS5 version releases at the start of September, or maybe even the Xbox version later down the line. This even led to a second all-time peak of 875,000 concurrent players on Steam alone in its second week, which is just 4,000 shy of beating Hogwarts Legacy, the last single-player RPG title to get this massive on the platform. And I think that there are quite a few parallels to be drawn between these two games. Both of them actually launched in a very good state. Both of them are single-player games. And I think that both of them continue to become even stronger in sales after the initial launch. But just like Baldur's Gate, Hogwarts also postponed one of its PlayStation launches for a few months. And that game ended up selling over 15 million copies by May this year, so it's not unlikely for BG3 to also get at least 10 million sales by December, maybe even much sooner than that. I can only imagine the PlayStation 5 launch to increase the sale numbers even more since, yeah, technically that platform always launches and sells very well. Interesting is that the Xbox launch is also being worked upon, but there are a few technical challenges that set it back, maybe into early 2024. So as far as its Xbox release, this will only happen in 2024, and it's not because of any exclusivity deal, but more because of the technical hurdles of shipping the game with certain features other platforms already have, mainly split screen and drop-in, drop-out co-op. So this was confirmed by Larian's director of publishing over on Twitter a couple weeks back, who confirmed there's no exclusivity deal that prevents the Xbox launch. However, the issue is instead a technical hurdle. He mentions we cannot remove the split screen feature because we are obliged to launch with feature parity and so continue to try to make it work. We have quite a few engineers working very hard to do what no other RPG of this scale has achieved, which is drop-in, drop-out co-op on the Series S. And he also mentions that there's probably going to be an update by the end of the year, at least hopefully so. But yeah, I don't blame them on this. Obviously, they do want to deliver quality, and if quality means having more time to cook it, I definitely don't mind that. I think that way too many developers nowadays are just rushing things out the window when obviously they should be kept for a bit longer. And Larian knows that. They have already changed the game up. They brought RPGs to the next level. It shows, and obviously this is a great decision on their part, even though some people might criticize it or maybe imply there is some kind of exclusivity deal when in reality there's none. In any case, it's also interesting to see the class and race distribution, and there's been this longer blog post that kind of explains some of the numbers a few of which I'm shocked. Like, I really thought half-orc barbarians or fighters would be a bit more popular, but it seems that most players lean heavily towards more spell casting friendly and flashy magic using well, classes. Paladin, of course, being the most picked class, makes sense for good reason. They are extremely strong, fun to play, they use charisma, they are amazing in conversations, just like how they are in combat. There's a great dilemma when it comes to building them up and breaking your oath. So overall, a very unique playstyle of the Paladin class that not many, or if any, RPGs ever did in the previous games I played. Also, on the subject of any possible future DLCs, I don't think that's completely off the table, and we've seen games doing things similar to Baldur's Gate 3. Like Hogwarts Legacy had absolutely no plans for any DLC, and the company even stated many times that they don't plan on working on one. But once the game broke like 800k concurrent players on Steam, they completely changed around, and it might follow a similar course for Larian Studios too. There's been an interview with the company's CEO, which kind of mentions what kind of hurdles and challenges the game would face if they chose to implement a DLC, and specifically if they chose to increase the level cap up to the max of 20, just like in D&D. So in this case, the biggest challenge would of course be how overpowered abilities and classes would become, and in other words, such an undertaking would endanger several design-based challenges. Furthermore, level 12 to 20 adventures require a different way of doing things in terms of antagonists you're going to have to deal with, which require a lot of development to do them properly, which would make this much more than an expansion in terms of development effort. A lot of D&D adventures are sub-level 12 for precisely that reason, so it sounds like a neat, easy expansion material until you start thinking about it, and it's not as easy as one would imagine. Plus, he also confirmed that they aren't currently working on any expansion. But I mean, that was the case with, yeah, Hogwarts Legacy 2 until like a few weeks after the game launched and it became super successful, so maybe this will change in the future. It doesn't seem that it's currently completely off the table, though Larian has mentioned before that they don't want to commit to things they can't implement and would love to have the liberty of retracting or pulling back from implementing certain updates if they don't make sense from a development point of view. Which I guess makes sense. However, does this mean that they are completely finished with Baldur's Gate 3? Well, maybe not. Maybe we're gonna see some form of update or content implementation at some point in the future, but maybe not that ambitious that will bring us to level 20. Anyway, that's about it with the video. Totally let me know down below what's the #1 feature you would love to see in that first update. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.